Solo traveling sounds very scary, especially if you're a person who is not used to pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and especially if you're used to doing things with a group of people. Growing up, I never really had a group of friends. I never really had like a safe circle that I could always depend on when it comes to doing stuff. So, because of that, I grew up being alone most of the time and being hyper independent and just depending on myself whenever I need to do what needs to be done. But the thought of solo traveling still scared me because it means that I would have to get out of my comfort zone to be in a different place at a different time, alone, around different people, different culture, different environment. And the thought of actually going out of my comfort zone to be somewhere different scared me, even though I grew up being very independent most of my life. I still remember that night when I was supposed to travel alone. And I was packing, and in the middle of packing, I almost backed out because I was scared. I was wondering about the what ifs. Like, what if something happens? What if I meet people who are not good for me? What if I get lost? What if something happens and I don't have anybody to depend on? And all of these what ifs were about to stop me from taking my very first solo trip. And as soon as I closed my suitcase, I thought about the what ifs and I was about to turn back and just unpack again. And mind you, this was at 11 to 12 a.m. and my flight was at 4 a.m. I was very scared, very nervous, but I had to talk myself out of being nervous because I know that this was going to be a life-changing event for me. I know that I have to get out of my comfort zone in order to grow. And at that point in my life, I didn't want anything else that would hinder my growth. I didn't want to be a part of anything that will not push me to grow as an individual. And I thought about the pros and cons, and obviously the pros won because I care more about pushing myself out of my comfort zone and I care more about my personal growth, that I decided that, you know what, even if I'm scared to take my first solo trip, I am going to do it scared. And whenever I think about that night, I am just so grateful that I pushed myself to do that because it changed my entire life. It changed who I am as an individual. I am no longer afraid to get out of my comfort zone. I'm not saying that you're never going to be scared, but like it's easier to encourage yourself to get out of your comfort zone when you've done it before. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to push myself out of that comfort zone and went on that solo trip because that solo trip was the beginning of a new era for me. It was the beginning of my new journey of becoming who I'm meant to become. It was the start of me doing things that align with me and listening to my intuition and being brave enough to push myself out of my comfort zone in any event of my life. And ever since that trip, I've learned so much about myself and who I am as an individual and a lot about this world. When I was packing, I was very scared about the what ifs, but then when I went on my solo trip, everything was just perfectly planned. Like, I met amazing people. I met kind people. I took wrong turns that led me to somewhere beautiful. I took the train and got to see beautiful things and beautiful places, and I was able to go to places that I've always wanted to see, and it just made my heart so happy. And there's nothing I regret from pushing myself out of my comfort zone to do something that I don't usually do, and something that's usually scary for most people. But I just want you to know that if you are planning to solo travel, if you are planning to try to push yourself out of your comfort zone, I want you to know that it may be scary when you think about the what ifs. Like, what if this happens? What if this doesn't happen? I want you to know that if your intuition is telling you that it's the right thing to do and it's something that you should do, please listen to your intuition, because your intuition will never steer you in the wrong path. And if you trust yourself, your intuition will lead you to the right path. And yes, it may be scary, but there's nothing better in life than to do it scared. Because if you're gonna continue to be fearful of a lot of things in life, you will never get out of your comfort zone. You will never be able to experience all the things you want to experience. You will never meet new people. You will never have new experiences to share. And you will never have new experiences in your memory. And life is very short, and the least that we can do for ourselves is to push ourselves out of our comfort zone and go do what it is that scares us the most. Go do what it is that makes us happy, because at the end of the day, you only have yourself, and at the end of the day, there's nothing more than being able to experience life without fear. So I encourage you to live your life to the fullest, as cliche as it sounds. I encourage you to try new things, to meet new people, because you never know what's waiting on the other side.